Hello everyone, and you're watching Bitcoin Bubble News channel. What's going on, guys? Thanks for coming back to the show. The price of Bitcoin finished a weekly candle above the weekly RSI downtrend line. Since not long ago, that has been the subject of conversation on this channel. There are 5 days since I put out this film called Bitcoin. The biggest sign of the year has arrived. We talked about it again in the last film. We were talking about how it might happen, and now we have the proof. The RSI was above the support line at the end of the week. Since I've already said this in a few movies, I think this is the best long-term signal for Bitcoin. The market normally knows it's ready for a big run when it breaks above that RSI resistance. This could happen in 6 months or a year. But Bitcoin went up from the first one for almost a year, reaching a high point at 74,000 not long ago. That could be broken down into another RSI rise though, where it's 6 months and then 6 months again. Here in March 2025 is the very least that we could go up after this weekly RSI breakout, so we have the hint. That's what we have to do now. And a lot of people are probably thinking, well, we can't really reach our bull market goals by then. I agree too. We were also having a live chat in the Patreon Discord today, and one of our moderators talked about how the second quarter of every year is usually pretty bad. Most of the time, Q2 is not good. And that fits with the idea of a high in March that will last 6 months before coming down in some way. What might that turn out to look like? In the end, it would probably look like something you wouldn't want. Most people would probably be very confused if Bitcoin goes up to the levels it's at now in March and then hits the goals you want it to reach. Also, why is this so hard? In your mind, it's hard because for 6 months, you're going up and thinking you're getting what you want and going where you want to go. But then the market gives up all your gains, but only to give you what you want later, right after a fake out. In the previous video, we talked about the lowering ratio from the bear market lows to the next all-time high and from the next all-time high to the previous all-time high. We found that this lines up with an average of 142,500 from low to high, which is 60,000% divided by 6, 10,000 divided by 5, and 2,000 divided by 4. 500, right? That's the number I found. The number of 142,000 is in the middle of these two extremes. Because it's not a straight line, this is how it might look in the end. What's the point of the chart if it's not a straight line? As a lot of people would probably rather I just draw a straight line, it would be simple that way. To be fair though, the world is in a lot of ways very dangerous right now. There is war and things are getting worse. We're becoming less global. I mean, the news loop around the world or global news is pretty crazy. During war, charts aren't always made up of straight lines. During war, maps are often very choppy. You can still see growth. It only means that there is some doubt in the mix. Because of this, you might get these big washouts before the run you want, going into the third quarter of 2025 for that high and that goal to be met. This is the halving cycle profit sign that I put on TradingView. It says that Q1 and Q2 are the first and second tops, and the second top is near Q3 or going into Q4. About 40 to 80 weeks after the split, it's free to use. We found both tops in the last cycle. The first one was around the 40th week, and the second one was around the 80th week. Why? Because on average, the second quarter doesn't do well. Yes, things went the same way right after April when we dumped. If you look at this picture from 2023, right now in the second quarter, the market stays the same. This thought comes from looking at this chart, these two tops. You may remember that our weekly RSI breakout led us to our first goal 6 months ago. That was in the second quarter during the summer slowdown, right? This model shows that we should then move up into Q3 around October. The other option is that Bitcoin goes up much higher and much faster than we think it will. It could then pull back and make a lower high around that area. That's an alternative idea. You can do anything. All of this doesn't need to happen. Based on everything I'm seeing and learning, this is what I think is most likely. Another interesting thing about this idea is that it fits with the goal of the downward I'm going to Twitter. Based on the book, this is the descending broadening wedge target that I put on Twitter, right? The goal is just above 100,000 if you measure from the pattern's highest point to its lowest point and then add that number to the original number. Since the weekly RSI broke out, that means that prices should be going up for the next 6 months. But The long-term goal of this descending widening wedge is close to or just above 100,000. As a result, Bitcoin may be worth around 100,000 in 6 months, putting it on track for its price goal of just above 100,000 in the second quarter. This is in line with what the textbook says should happen. To find the possible breakout zone for this downward broadening wedge, you would need to draw a line from the high point to that level and mark it. According to the textbook, the goal for a descending broadening wedge is somewhere between $102 and $103,000. That's what we're looking at now, guys. A lot of things fit together here. I know I'm saying this over and over, but after 6 months of average upside, or at least after a weekly RSI breakout, the descending broadening wedge target puts us just above 100,000. That gives us 6 months to get to Q2 before things get bearish, boring, or sideways, depending on how you look at it, and then have a nice boost going into 2025's third and fourth quarters. And in the halving cycle profit plan, October is the end of the 80th week. It's possible that this could happen. A lot of people would rather be in a straight line, but I'm just taking into account that things aren't really safe around the world right now. That's why there might be doubt, and big events could happen during this time that cause prices to change. Things that we might not like, but I still believe that the circle will end in the end. It's pretty much always this way. It might not be a straight lineup. That's all I have to say for now, guys. I hope you had fun. I hope it's interesting to you. Give this video a like and subscribe if you did. Also, don't forget to join Patreon. Due to the fact that we don't want it to get too crazy, we are going to limit the number of people who can come in. There is a deal every year. Make the most of that. We also started having voice chats in the morning, which means you can talk to me in Discord. And if you're interested in that, you should sign up right away. I'll see you in the next movie.